Andromeda is asking, what are the main races who are managing the soul contracts? It's pretty much like mainly here on Earth. It's just this karmic thing. This place is like, I don't know, like fake playground. Like there's a lot of rules of how things are going, or like it's like sanctions, like, right? So your parent is saying, okay, you cannot get out of the house. You're sort of like, I forget the word, but it's like, okay, you're grounded. That's it. You can't leave the house. You can't do this. Boom. And all of a sudden, this person, like your parent, goes away to work, and they're not watching the rules. So while they're not there to manage you and to make sure you're not doing stuff that they don't want you to do, you can do anything. You can leave the house, you can go places, and if they don't find out, that's awesome. So with that in mind, Earth, like there will be beings that might try to mess with you, that might try to make sure you're limited, but they're not always there. They're not present, so you do have some breathing room. And same with soul contract agreements. A lot of beings are just coming here on Earth and will try to sort of enforce you before you come here. Once you are on Earth, you will have agreements every day. Like you're going to be making a lot of agreements. For example, you're driving your car and this old lady like sort of runs in front of you and you accidentally drive over like, oh my god, what did I do? Like this fucking dumb lady just didn't use the fucking sidewalk and everything else and she just ran across the road and you didn't hit the brakes enough and boom, we have an accident. After that accident, you start feeling guilty and you start making decisions. Damn, from now on, I will be paying attention more than ever. I'll be super careful driver. And you make decisions of how you're going to live your life based on that one incident. So in daily life, we have a lot of situations that will bring us to make certain decisions, and we decide that we're gonna act this way, we're gonna be doing this. We hurt someone, then we're like, okay, I don't want to hurt them, so I'm gonna change like in this way. And so us changing, it's our decisions, it's our daily agreements we make, and we can cancel them at any time. And the only people managing it, it's like you. You load a lot on yourself unknowingly because of how traumatic it is for you here on Earth. But over there, soul contract agreements that you make, like, no one really gives a damn. As in, like, the demiurges and archons and all the stuff, like, yeah, you make the agreements and they have some sort of leash on you to mess with you, but they're not watching you 24/7. They're not like, oh my god, I'm gonna watch this guy Andromeda and make sure he doesn't do stuff. And, like, they're not sitting there their whole life. They're basically gonna be doing their own stuff. It's more like, yeah, you're in the program somewhere. It's like one word in this massive book. That's you. No one really gives a damn about you. And you know, like, yeah, you're a bit limited. You're in the book of people that have some sort of agreements and they're being targeted, but there's a whole lot of things going on behind it. And you know, like, so I wouldn't make this soul contract thing this major stuff. Like, yeah, we have them, but we can revoke them just like that. It's our beliefs, it's our perceptions, it's what we, you know, do, with how we see life and everything else. And at any point in time, you can change your story, which means it's just the old story that you were living that can be changed at any time if you're willing to work on it. And that's it. Chara is asking, are there any soul contracts that I cannot remove, or are they all open? Yeah, you can remove absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. You're, like, all these soul contracts is just beliefs, perceptions, and everything else. So, like, anything that either comes here before you incarnate, like whatever decisions you have made before coming here, or whatever decisions and agreements you make while you're here, everything can be removed. Like, no need to leave anything like sort of like behind. And you don't have to remove everything. Like, these agreements stick to your physical body. Like, the decisions you have made, they might move with your consciousness. Because let's say if you decided, like, hey, I'm gonna be a good being, I'm gonna help out others, and so you decide to be the good person and not get engaged in killing and anything else, that's just part of your beingness, and that is fine. But at any point in time, you can decide, like, oh, okay, I'm sort of bored of this beingness and I want to change. It's okay for you to change. Like, there are no limits, and the only limit is that you can create for yourself, and that's it. So you can remove absolutely all the agreements you want. What exactly is the point of a soul contract? It's here to limit you. It's just here to limit your physical body and your experience here on Earth. That's it. It's same way we have karma. It's just a story that people can start believing that will start limiting their life. It's just like a religion is pushing, oh, well, you know, like, if you die, you will either go to heaven or hell. And they give you two options. They leave you no more. And or like be the purgatory and stuck there forever until you make your decision. So like hopefully you have free and that's it. That's very limiting, and people who buy into that, they're like, okay, well, I'm stuck. I either go to heaven or damn, I lied to my mom, I broke one of the rules, and I'm gonna go to hell. Fuck. And I say fuck, and it's probably like, like don't cuss, like whatever, like cool. Now it's another thing. So all of these things, like it plays part, like your decisions, your perceptions, how you see the world, it's here limiting your everyday life. For example, like I have an agreement that I have a myopia, so I can't see far. Or I have a scoliosis, and I'm working on breaking this one, and I'm actually seeing my back straightening up. I actually could do a whole revocation on it, and it has a lot to do with my experience. For example, I told the story before in a few videos I've covered my Yumeho therapy, but in school I was pretty much like bullied, where I noticed like lately I'm learning how to walk again, because normal people when they walk, like they move, like that's what you do, like you have your like back like this, you're feeling great, and you're just enjoying yourself, and that's the good normal way to walk. Well, I did that, and everyone's like, oh, you're walking like this, and I'm like, no, I'm not. And catching this attention and being bullied and yelled and everything else, I'm like, fine, I'm just gonna walk like this and not get, like, just please don't mind me. And, for a few years catching those comments, I made, like, conscious decision that, fuck it, I'm just gonna walk straight and not move, and I started moving like a robot. And for me, that became a few years of, like, I don't know, 6-7 years of walking like that. I had no idea I was walking like that. I wasn't paying attention to, oh, I'm walking like this. Like, first, yeah, I sort of, like, I don't want to be seen. I don't want, like, people to pay attention to me. And this sort of, like, let's say even energetic ball I have, it's sort of shrinking, and I'm as a person, like, just trying to hide. All of these things are building up. So for me, a lot of things with scoliosis, like trying to hide, trying to shrink, trying not to be seen, and everything else sort of limited in how I am and all this stuff. So that's just one thing. Like coming back to this bullying, the things I've heard at that time and how it hurt me, how I did not want it to be seen, and how I've made a decision to walk like this instead of freely, limited my life massively. And that's just an agreement I've made here on earth. Like, I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be da-da-da-da-da. Like, a lot of things I have said to myself or thought, those are my agreements. So we make a lot of them daily, and it's eventually like to protect yourselves, to feel better, to sort of like, oh, well, I don't want to hurt another being ever again. Like, maybe you lie to your mom, or you do a little prank, like you and your brother are like, oh, well, I'm gonna pretend I've really hurt myself, and you go call mom and make her scared and all this stuff, and like, I'm gonna get ketchup on my stomach, and you call her, and she comes, and she screams, and she's all scared, and you're like, haha, pranked you, mom, and she gets all scared, and you see her react like, oh, damn, like, I'm never gonna do that again. And so, years move on, and you're still feeling guilty as fuck, because you've agreed to it, because you've had decisions. So, in ways, consciously, we're trying to make ourselves better people here, trying to fit in with other people, trying to please them, trying not to make them mad or anything else, not to make them angry or disappointed, or not to make them cry. Like, we just really care about others, but in lots of ways, all of these agreements are like limiting us in tons of ways, and like, it just like really messes us up. So that's the point. Like agreements we have here on earth is just us trying to live a better life and not mess with other people, and at the same time it's limiting us. Like, people, oh boy, I'm reading Lewis Howes' book, The Mask of Masculinity. It's really good. It's helping me to understand people better, specifically with the programming we have day-to-day life of how men should be like and what is a real man, and how they're pushing this, that I'm reading a lot of stories on Reddit about how people feel, specifically men, and how the world is like, let's say, if you're playing, I don't know, like in NFL, in wrestling or whatever, and you have an injury, like let's say something happened and all of a sudden it hurts and you cannot get up. Well, if you get up, like, or let's say Rich and I, we've been watching Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay, and I think like season 6, there was this guy Dave. He really messed up his hand while doing some challenge, and he had to like walk with this cast and everything else, and it was like really bad. He hurt himself, but everyone else is reacting to like, that's a real man. He's hurting like hell, his arm is gonna be messed up for his entire life, but what a man! He can handle the pain, he's not showing his emotions, that's a man, like that's fucked up. No, it's okay for people to express their emotions. It's okay for men to be vulnerable and like, hey, they can cry. They can say like it hurts and I don't want to do it because I don't like it, and it's okay to stop. But like, it's making our society to not go with it. So all of these agreements of, let's say, even how men should be like, how women should be like I'm getting a lot of comments that I look like a boy. I'm a tomboy, fine, whatever. But like all of a sudden they're pushing me like if I'm not putting makeup on myself, if I'm not wearing clothes that are revealing, and if I'm not going by someone else's standard, now I'm not a girl, now I'm not feminine. I'm like, fuck you, I have my own decisions and I'm gonna try to be the best version of myself. But at the same time, all of these and everything I'm talking about, a lot of it is agreement. Because we're trying to fit in. And so it's everything just to limit us one way or the other. Anyway, I'm truly like talking a lot about it, but yeah, it's a good book. I'm probably gonna do a little review about it, but we'll see. Adore is asking, how do I become aware of my soul contracts? I would just go with daily life, how you perceive the world, the phrases you tell yourself. For example, you wake up and you're like, oh my god, another day on this fucked up world. I hate this place. So all of a sudden, I hate this place, how you feel about it, not liking this world, feeling fucked up, feeling tired, feeling exhausted, feeling like you hate this, like, like you would just have those things. And then it's just like every day, your perceptions, your emotions, your feelings, your decisions, your beliefs, it's all in it. You can keep on going, and let's say you're gonna go to the store and now you have to park the car and you're trying to park, you're like, oh, there's a spot, and boom, someone gets in front of you, you're like, damn it, it's always me. I'm always like, I'm freaking unlucky, I can't get my favorite spot. I'm freaking unlucky, I can't get my spot, it's always me. A lot of agreements out there. Okay, you're gonna go to have your pizza, and then you go have your pizza and like, boom, they got the last bite and now they're out. Fuck, I can't get my pizza. That's an agreement. I'm always the last one. That's an agreement. I hate this place. That's an agreement. Then you get out and let's say, like something else happens. So it's constantly everything around you, everything you feel, everything you think, everything you focus on, everything you keep telling yourself, that story, it's all your agreements. And if you can sort of name it, like, okay, I wish I could talk slower. That's my agreement. I wish I could talk slower. But wishing is not doing it. So, hey, alright. So all of a sudden, like everything you're saying, thinking, feeling, your perceptions, your beliefs, it's all part of it. And, it's great if you're aware of it. But you have to start paying attention to how you're acting, what you're being, what you're focusing on. And from there on, you're sort of like, okay, start writing it down. Once you have a list, it's so easy to deal with it. Okay, how can you tell you have a soul contract due to your past lives? It's a really good question, Eddie. For me, it's much easier to answer and experience it because I have an ability to recall those things. But a lot of times, you would have to look for a specific phrase or an event that keeps on happening. And words that are being repeated to you by others, you can notice them, like people will say certain phrases and they will keep on repeating it, or it's just part of their habit, part of their nature, that's the way they talk. And there might be something that comes out of your own mouth and it's sort of like, hey, that's repetitive. So let's say things as regards your physical spine, your back, and then phrases like, we have to go back, I have to come back, or I don't know. Like, it can come in a lot of ways, but for example, you're being asked things, and then you're being tortured in your past lives, and you're saying like, hey, I don't know the answer, and then bzz, you get zapped and all this stuff. So it sort of builds up like a hypnotic command, but it comes from there. And you're like, in this life, like, I just feel like I don't know anything. And you keep on saying that one part, but you're trying to look for origins, like the earlier time. When was the earliest time I have said that I don't know? And you're trying to recall in your childhood, and sort of like, all of a sudden you might get the pop, a flash, a thought, like, well, it just feels like it's something out of this like fantasy movie, like as if this happened to me. So it's more like that. I recently did a session with Patricia where we were covering her spiritual side, where a lot of times she would, like, let's say, have her eyes sort of with a blindfold or something, and then she would open her eyes and she sees in darkness way better than with eyes open. Or, both ways work, but like she has much better time focusing and all. So she's wearing this thing on her eyes, and she's looking at things from a spiritual perspective, and sometimes the visuals get blurry, so you can see forms and everything else, but you don't see the true picture. It's like me using Zoom to record videos and I have this blurry background that you see all the time. It's like that. So let's say we're doing this like recalling passive incidents, like okay, like well, like I ask her a question, she answers it, and all of a sudden it's as if she's feel like she's been stabbed in the eye. We're like, let's explore that. And all of a sudden we like recall a past life where she was a kid and she got her eye stabbed several times, and that's one of the things that caused sort of the blindness or the blurriness. We remove that, or like let's say not even remove that. We go through the incident several times until she sort of clears it up and sees it. Okay, that's what it is. And then a few minutes later, I'm like, well, test your visuals now. Boom, perfect clarity. So it's easier to show. And let's say if you and I connect and we talk, I'm pretty sure we could get you in a line of like, hey, that's your past life. I like telling people past life is one thing, but I really like when people can recall themselves. It's a more difficult part, but I like it much better because like you see it for yourself, you know what it is, and there it is. So that's just one answer to your question, Eddie. But there's much more to it. There's much more.